Hey guys, it's your man Michael Andreula here with another lockdown workout, just in case. So we got a stick here. You can use. Sorry, Chase. Sorry about that, guys. A stick, you can use at just about anything, and we're going to use this for a couple isometric exercises, but they're going to closely relate to striking. One problem with striking, or a challenge with striking for a lot of beginners, is getting the elbows to stay kind of tucked down. It's just great defense, but it also keeps you fresh. If your arms are up very high, you're going to fatigue the shoulders over a long period of time. So if your elbows are out, if your elbows are in, whether it's weight training, if it's striking, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, a lot of positions you want to keep your elbow in because it makes you a lot stronger. So we're going to use the stick. It could be weights, though. I considered grabbing weights, and we're going to bring it in and do a close grip curl, which I used to do in weight training a lot more, where you're trying to get your elbows on your rib cage, right? And then fully extend the arm out, and then come out right about there. That's your full contraction. So if you're doing it with light weights, you could do it with no weights at all. You could do it with a towel, a stick, arm straight here. You can even lean back if you want to make it a little more intense. Then lean in, lean back, lean in. But in the context of striking, you're training your body to feel this position. So you got to feel it a lot of times with fitness. We're going to do a couple reps there, 5, 4, and the thing about isometrics, as Steve Maxwell's taught, is the more advanced you are, the quicker you fatigue, because you control your muscle fibers, you can connect to them deeper, and you get fatigued a lot faster. I believe that was about 5. Okay. Put that down for a second. Shake it out. Now your hands are up, your elbows are tucked in, right? Just like that curl. And you're trying to mimic that as much as possible, even exaggerating it. You learn a lot by exaggerating, especially when you're striking. Hands are up, elbows are tucked in, great base. Breathe, relax, and get into your base. What does the base mean? You have a wide stance. A lot of times if you're wrestling with a dog, you're like, wow, this dog weighs 40 pounds, but it has a lot of pull. It can almost pull me over, or may be able to pull you over. It's because he's got an incredible base. He's got 4 feet and you only have 2 feet. So if he gets you off your base, you're over. So in order to prevent that, you want to think about your feet like the Eiffel Tower. You know, there's 4 base points there. Here you have 2 base points. If you only have 2 base points, it's better to offset both of them and work them against each other. If you catch yourself like this, or like this, or like this, you're going to be off balanced very easily. So 1 foot's forward, 1 foot's back. The next rule is don't allow your own punches to throw you off balance, unless you were intending on it. Meaning, if I throw my jab and I lock my knee out and I bring my shoulders over the hips, I'm going to be off balance. This happens a lot in the beginning. Don't beat yourself up about it, but you need to think about keeping the knee soft, stepping in very gentle. Why is this good? Because whether you're learning to strike for fitness or for function, both will be true. Play it like a sport, not like a workout. The jab, long straight line from your chin back to your chin. Your hands are up. You know, there's high guard, low guard. People keep their hands down, Mayweather, but you're constantly changing the look of things. That's what you should be doing with your hands. Step 101 is keep your hands up. But if your hands are at a predictable location, it doesn't matter that your hands are up. You'll get taken apart. You want to keep changing the looks, and you want to keep your hands out there like they're looking into a blender. Nobody wants to stick their hand into the blender. That's kind of what you're doing with your hands. It also keeps you fresh just by small changes in the positioning. The jab, it's a long straight punch. It can be thrown millions and millions of ways. You start connecting variables. One way you definitely want to learn is step in, throw the hips. So if you're not gigantic, you're not going to generate a lot of power by extending your arm out to cause any damage. You need to use your body, and again, like an animal, leap into it. Leap into it. Your back foot's pushing your lead foot, and in essence, you're falling through space. I've gone over this in past videos, but it's good to remember. As you're falling, you're hitting. right? If you, I don't even know if, I say it in class all the time, but if I drop a baby from a 2-story window on your head, it's going to hurt you, even though the baby has little muscles and couldn't hurt you. But the falling impact gives a lot of energy to that weight. Same thing here. When you're falling forward and extending the jab out, it accelerates the punch. But I'm not throwing myself off balance. I'm loading up that side. Cross, you're more committed. The longer your jab is, the easier and more pullback on the cross you have. And you want to think about that. The obvious thing is you're extending your arm out. Non-obvious is that you're pulling it back in. You pull that cross back in, generates a lot more force. Your upper body twist, pull. Your lead 2 knuckles to your wrist, as far as you're concerned on punches, are a rocket. They're the rock in a slingshot. They're not connected to you. So when you throw that cross out there, those muscles, I mean those bones and joints, they're just a rock tied to a string that you're catapulting out, foot, hip, shoulder. So jab, nice and long, cross, nice and long. Another thing with striking, if you do something right, it's going to pay dividends. If you do it wrong, you might not realize it right away, but it's going to hurt you when you're doing things later. Great example of that is throwing a short jab. When you throw the short jab or you're crowded in on the target, you're like, oh, I'm getting away with my jab. But when it's time to throw the cross, you're also jammed up. There's not a lot of room for you. Distance, you want to choose the distance if possible. You want to control the distance, especially if you have the ability to do that. Why wouldn't you control the distance? And when you're hitting a heavy bag, you're choosing when to engage, the distance you're engaging. You're doing all those things, so there shouldn't be any excuse. You shouldn't be jammed up on the bag like you're in a telephone booth. Jab, long straight punch from the chin back, chin cross, step, twist, push off the back foot, jab, cross together. Long straight lines from your chin back to your chin. If you throw them in a rhythm, which I recommend, some people say don't throw rhythm combinations, but I say do throw rhythm and broken rhythm. Rhythm jab crosses teach you a lot about what's going right and what's going wrong. Where muscles are getting fatigued unnecessarily, maybe the front of your shoulder, you can work on shutting those muscles down. You can work on patterns that help recover you, like putting flick on the wrist, snapping the hand back in, moving your head more, turning your hips more, turning your feet more, and you're ejecting the arms. From this position to this position, you can just concentrate, back heel, lead here, heel. Good, shake it out. Hands up, elbows tucked in, body's loose. Another thing on the jab is where you're stepping, right? When you step in and you're throwing the jab cross and you're hoping to outposition whatever target, my recommendation is to step into a wider stance. Forward but wider. That gives you a lot of options. So if your target's out here, if you step in, you're going to jam up. You might be in great position for your jab, but you might be out of position for your cross. But if you step out here, your jab will be lined up beautiful and your cross will be lined up beautiful. When I throw the cross, I imagine my lead 2 knuckles going into the front of the mailbox and then coming out of the back. So if the target's here, I'll aim back there with the cross. So I don't go across the body as much as it sounds. Jab nice and long, step out to the side, cross. If you're going to throw the jab cross as a package, step out, jab, and then cross. The final strike in the combination gets priority. Your jab, long straight line, cross, long straight line from your chin back to your chin. Extend the arm out, breathe, turn your hips, turn your shoulders, breathe, relax, and keep those elbows tucked in just like that stick we used earlier. Step forward, twist, turn your hips, turn your shoulders, switch up sides. Switching up sides, a lot of times you might even feel better on that side. Maybe you should switch to our unorthodox. But a lot of times you also figure out if you do something on your non-dominant side, you're probably doing it on your dominant side, just less obvious, so it helps you figure out problems in the technique. And just want to keep your jabs and your crosses floating out there. Floating out there. Another reference you're probably not going to understand, but when you do concrete work, there's a float. And you work the concrete and you want to make it smooth. So you float back and forth with like a piece of wood. Float it back and forth. You're not putting too much pressure, but it's on that same line, that same plane. Same thing with the punches here. You're trying to throw them over this plane. jab and cross, jab and cross. Deep breath in, deep breath out, shake it out, loose, relax. Hooks, lead two knuckles, wrist, elbow, hips turn, shoulders turn. With the hooks, a couple important pieces of information. This is correct, this is also correct. It's more about where's the impact landing on the hand. Next thing is hooks, you tend to come up short, especially if your adrenaline's pumping or you've done a lot of reps and you're tired. Your muscles are naturally going to be a little bit tighter and you're going to miss. It's a bad place to be. So I like to overshoot the hook. Open up the elbow just a little bit and overshoot it. If you caught the target with your forearms, better than completely missing. Your lead two knuckles, wrist, elbow are going to make the impact. Your arm is pulled back into the shoulder. That stick movement we did earlier applies here. It's pulled back, it's tight. You're like pushing your arm up against the doorway and you're stretching your pec. The better you finish the left hook, the better your rear hook's going to be. The better you finish your rear hook, exactly. And you're punching within your feet again. If your target's here and you line up your lead hook, but you're out of position on your rear hook, not good. A lot of people, especially beginners, will square up the hips. You can't have a different stance for different punches. You won't be able to blend combinations. When you're in your stance, any punch could come out, any strike. That's what you're projecting anyway. So you don't want to have a different stance for your hooks, even though it's not symmetric. A lot of this is remnants from the bodybuilding world where things are done very symmetrically. But again, it's not a workout as much as a sport in your mind. Jab cross left hook, jab cross right hook. Lead two knuckles, wrist, elbow. It's more about getting you moving, informing you about the technique. Deep breath in, deep breath out, jab cross left hook, jab cross right hook. When you throw jab cross lead hook, because it's opposite, 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 it's a flow, it's a combination. Three separate strikes would be jab, cross, hook, and that might happen, the timing could be different. But if it's a combination, each strike is going to help the next. Jab, cross, boom, throw the hook. If you throw it on the backside, you're going to have to reload and throw. Jab, cross, reload, throw. Jab, cross. So if I was going to add a power percentage, I would say never throw 100% because it's only going to throw you off balance. Jab at 60%, cross at 60%, and hook at 80%. Jab, cross, hook. In essence, the jab cross is a smoke screen and the hook is your goal to hit. You use your jab cross to push the person's hands up and then you can freely hook as they're covered up. Jab cross right hook, jab cross left hook. Obviously I don't advise you doing it unless if situation, it's a life or death situation, then I want you striking people, otherwise don't do it. Jab cross right hook, jab cross left hook. With the hook, you can open up the elbow, you can throw a long looping Chuck Liddell, if you know him, he would just keep that arm out like this and throw it, you know, it blends into an overhand right. You just whale the hand in there, you can hit something. Or you can throw a sharper hook. Obviously, it would be best if it could be really sharp and you crack. Uppercuts in the air, right, you're rolling it up from the bottom. I just refreshed myself on Gangs of New York, and you see a boxing scene and they're boxing like this, right? So they're uppercuts, they're jabs, everything. And early on, seeing illustrations of boxing like this and people boxing, you're like, what are they doing? They didn't, it's like shooting a basketball underhand. It's like, why would they do that? But in reality, there was no round limits. They would go up to 100 rounds. So people are fighting for 100 rounds. The fatigue is set in so much that you're keeping your elbows in the same way we did with that stick in order to just be able to keep throwing punches or pop punches out in these positions. So uppercuts, they can be done a lot of different ways. They could be like a ratchet. The sharecroppers talk about this. When sharecroppers started going into boxing, they would come in with this, if you ever use the ratchet, it's a tool, go like this, click, 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 same type of motion. But the sharecroppers would cut the crop down with this quick motion, and then that was a beautiful uppercut. They'd put an extra whiz on it, extra spin. But you could throw the uppercut almost like it's a 1920s jab from the bottom. A lot of different ways. You have to figure out, you know, your bones, how things are set up, how things work for you. Different body types, different techniques work much better. Styles vary just as much as personality. So A lot of people have different punching styles based on their personality, which is fine. You just embrace that. Jab, cross, right uppercut, jab, cross, left uppercut. Take your time and just start flowing through it. The most important thing is just start doing it. Get your arms out there. You can make up any combination you want, just get your hands moving. Key point with the jab, cross, hook, or uppercut is I'm basically doing the same foot to hip movement. My foot, hip, shoulder, foot, hip, shoulder, foot, hip, shoulder, foot, hip, shoulder. And in yoga, they do warrior one, warrior two, and I would imagine it's based off of this concept. What's up, Chase? Uppercut, hook, crosses, nice and loose and relaxed. So let's shake it out. Quick review. Hands are up, elbows are tucked in, jab. Step forward. You can shoot your shoulder up to your chin and be all the way out like you're shooting a bow. Cross, step, twist, push off your back foot like you're throwing something, but you're not off balance. And you're not going to be off balance because you stepped forward and slightly to the outside. Jab, boom, throw the cross. Jab and cross. Big breath in, big breath out. Jab, cross. Jab, cross, nice and long from your chin back to your chin. If you don't have a lot of weight, then you're jumping in to a John Wayne par. Cross, jab, cross, right hook. Hip turn, shoulders turn, hook, left hook, right hook, boom, right uppercut, left uppercut. Staying loose, staying relaxed. No. Okay. I think we can cut it from right there, guys. What I want you to do is get some weights, get a stick, and get your elbows tucked in, and just try pressing them in. It's so important. When you're doing push-ups, same idea. When you're doing squats, same idea. Stop it. No. No. Keep on working, guys. It's 2020. We're all out on our own now, so it's time to be fit, stay secure, and email me, Mike. Use this one, michaelandrula@gmail.com. I'm starting a street gang called the Faucis are nice boys, and we're going to do charitable things, very safe, just fun, but I might need that. So talk to you soon.